We've met the enemy, and it's dessert.
For me, it's ice cream.
For me, it's anything.
Well, no matter what it is, it's always a little more decadent with some wonderful homemade syrup on top. Pass that sponge cake, darling.
If you need a pickle, cause there's nothing left to spread, got a kitchen full of people and there's nothing in your head, we've got all the answers, got a love for you in store, pickles, sausage, chutney, jelly, jams, and more. Put a lid on it, put a lid on it, there's just nothing in the world you can't preserve. Put a lid on it, put a lid on it, and sit back and get the praise that you deserve.
Welcome to Put a Lid on It. Today we're going to teach you all about liqueurs and syrups.
This is the show we call Nectar of the Gods, and everything we give you today is all natural. No dextrose, fructose,
Glyceride stuff.
nothing you can't pronounce.
None of that. It's all easy, all delicious, and all natural. I'm going to teach you how to make cinnamon rum syrup, blueberry syrup, mint lime syrup, and a really nice rosemary wine syrup.
I'm going to help her teach you those, but we're also going to give you some great liqueurs. There's 4 of them. There's a fruit, a citron, a cranberry, and our favorite, the coffee liqueur.
Jennifer, tell the truth. All those liqueurs are your favorites. So stay with us because it's going to be a great show.
Welcome back to Put a Lid on It,
Today's show is liqueurs and syrups.
the nectar of the gods.
And the aroma here you would not believe. Everything smells delicious. I think it's the cinnamon.
It is good. Now I'm going to start with our first liqueur, which is a coffee liqueur. And this recipe is as close to the commercial brand as you will ever find. What we need for this recipe is 1 cup of our alcohol. We use a half a cup of freshly brewed espresso coffee, but if you don't want to use the fresh brewed espresso, it's a little easier to use your instant coffee. We use a tablespoon with a half a cup of hot water. Then we use a half a cup of brown sugar, a third of a cup of brandy, and 1 teaspoon, was it a teaspoon or a tablespoon?
Well, if it was a tablespoon, then you've been into it.
A teaspoon of vanilla. So what we do is we take our coffee grounds that need a little help coming out of the dish, and our water, and we are going to stir that in with our sugar until the sugar is dissolved. Till the sugar is dissolved. That'll just take a minute. And to that mixture, we're going to add our brandy. You like the smell of that. And just a little teaspoon of vanilla. Now this recipe has to sit for 4 weeks. And I guess I better add the vodka.
I thought you were trying to keep that aside for later.
Well, you know me, sneaky, but no, I better put it in. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a siphon in there and put
A siphon?
A siphon.
You've been stealing gas again. That's a funnel.
No, I think I must have been sniffing it. And we're going to put our coffee liqueur in, and then that has to sit for 4 weeks before it's ready. There we go, our coffee liqueur.
Actually, with all of our recipes, they have a certain amount of time they have to sit. My liqueur also is going to be sad. Now, what you're going to need for this recipe, you're going to need 2 cups of fruit slices. Today we're using peaches. We're also going to use half a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of brandy, and 3 tablespoons of mineral water. Now our mineral water and our sugar, I'm going to make a syrup out of later. So I'll tell you what we start out with. We're going to take our peaches and a clean mason jar. We're going to put our peaches into our mason jar. And then we're going to pour over top of that one ingredient I didn't tell you about. I don't know, we seem to have trouble with that liquor, Jennifer.
I think it's because we want to keep it for ourselves.
We're going to put 1 cup of alcohol in. Now, I'm using vodka. So we're going to pour this in. That's our vodka. And our brandy, 2 tablespoons of brandy. Then this is going to sit in a cool, dark place for 2 weeks. And this is what you have after 2 weeks. You can see the color has changed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain, get all of our peaches out. And then I'm going to take my mineral water and my sugar. My sugar's doing the same thing. There. And I'm going to take it to the stove because I want it to come to a boil so that my sugar dissolves, but you could just as easily put it in the microwave. Now, after you've cooked your syrup, you want it to cool. So this is my cooled syrup here. I'm now going to add my cooled syrup to my fruit liqueur.
Oh, that looks really good.
Yes, I said it smelled like cinnamon, but it's vanilla that I smell from yours. So now you want to stir this up so that the sugar dissolves. This is a really lovely liqueur to serve over fresh fruit, or if you happen to have some ice cream and unexpected guests.
Or even frozen yogurt.
Yes, you can just pour it over top. Because I think everyone knows probably how to drink the other liqueur. So Jennifer, I'll pour this in and you go with your recipe.
I'm going to show you a citron liqueur, and this one's really, really simple. There's a couple of stages to it. What we use is 1.5 cups of alcohol. We've used vodka. We use the rind off of 2 limes, 1 lemon, and an orange, and that's right here. And we use 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rind of our fruit, the lemon, the lime, and the orange into a mason jar with a tight-fitting lid. Now I'm going to add, I'm going to use your jar filler, Jane, the alcohol. And that's going to sit for 2 weeks. This is what it looks like after you've had it sitting. Then our next stage is to take, I didn't bring everything over. We strain our liquid off. We want to remove our solids. And then we add our sugar to this mixture. We put it back. Hello. We mix it up. We put it back into our jar, and it has to sit another week longer. So Jane, if you want to go ahead with yours, I'll just tidy that up and put it back in my jar.
I need 1 mason jar, Jen.
I'll get that for you.
This is such a quick recipe. It's cranberry liqueur, and maybe you haven't tried it before, but it is really good, and the color is beautiful. What you do is you take 1 can of frozen cranberry juice and you thaw it. Looks like this. 2/3 of a cup of alcohol and 1 vanilla bean. You want to pop it all into a clean mason jar. Let it sit for 2 weeks. And you have instant cranberry liqueur. Cover it with a tight-fitting lid. And then we pour it into a really nice container.
And this is what our citron liqueur looks like after we've finished it.
So come back, we've got some great syrup recipes for you coming up.
On today's craft segment, I'm going to show you how to make some really nice cloth doily gift bags. They're very simple to make. Jane always says that I get to do the fun part, the craft segment, and she's right. But you know what? Jane's a really good cook, and when it comes to crafts, well, she's still a really good cook. So for our doily gift bag, what we need is a doily. This one's 10 inches wide, and it's a Battenberg doily. But you can use a regular doily. And this is for a small liqueur bottle for our coffee liqueur. If you want to use a larger bottle, you just simply use a larger doily. This one's about 20 inches in diameter. So that's all you do. So we take our cord, we put a safety pin in the end because it makes it easier to thread the cord through the doily, and we put it through the whole way around the perimeter of the doily. It doesn't take very long to do this. And the good thing about all of the crafts that we show you is they're simple. You don't need to be a professional craftsperson. You don't need to be a seamstress to make anything that we show you in our craft segment. So we've got that to the end. I've met the other side where the cord started, and I put our liqueur bottle in the center, and I pull our doily up, pull the cord nice and tight, and then I'm simply going to put a bow in it. That's going to hold it in place, and then you can trim the cord. Once you get everything just the way you want it, you can trim the cord or make another bow. Now, a variation on this is if you want to take your doily and put it in either some liquid starch or some cornstarch and some water, then fit it over your bottle. Once it dries, it's going to dry very stiff, and that makes it really nice and attractive to look at. So there's a few little ideas for you on the doilies, and we'll have some great ideas coming up on future shows.
There are so many ways to enjoy these syrup recipes we're going to give you.
That's right, and we're going to give you 4 of them. We're going to give you a mint lime syrup, a cinnamon rum syrup, a rosemary wine syrup, and a blueberry syrup. They're all fabulous.
And they're also all going to make about a cup, and you're going to store them in the refrigerator.
And with each recipe, we're going to give you some ideas on how you might want to serve these syrups.
Didn't you see my hand up there? I was about to make a big leap. And the first recipe is a rosemary wine syrup. And I have to say, this is probably my favorite recipe. All the ingredients are going to go into a pot. We're going to cover it and simmer it gently for 5 minutes. So the ingredients you're going to need for the rosemary wine syrup are, you're going to use half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of dry white wine, a 1/4 cup of water, a 1/4 cup of fresh rosemary leaves that we removed from the stem, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, half a teaspoon of peppercorns, 2 lemon rinds, and 2 bay leaves. We're going to combine it all in the pot. So, Jen, you want to give me a hand?
Sure. And that was just 2 strips of lemon rind.
What did I say?
You said 2 lemon rinds.
Oh, my.
Pick, I know.
I can't wait till you try to do that recipe.
That's why I'm counting on you to be right there to help me.
Now, I'm going to stir this up. As I said before, bring it to the stove to a boil, and then cover it and simmer it gently for 5 minutes.
Okay, I've got the one that's already done and cooled.
Yes, before you pour it into your jar, you want it to cool. This is such a nice dessert syrup if you serve it over fresh fruit and maybe some chèvre cheese.
You usually just say goat cheese.
Yeah, but this is TV. So I want to say chèvre cheese. Now I'm going to pour this into a clean jar and store it in the refrigerator.
Sorry for the noise in the background, Jane. I needed to rinse.
That's all right. This recipe also, you'll find a lot of different uses for it. You can maybe drizzle it on some meat when you're barbecuing. It's great with lamb chops.
It is really good.
All right.
The recipe I'm going to give you is for mint lime syrup. This is the first recipe I'm going to give you. A little later, I'll give you a blueberry syrup. We're going to use, for this recipe, a half a cup of white sugar, a half a cup of dry white wine, a 1/4 cup of fresh mint leaves that we've chopped, 2 tablespoons of lime juice that we used 1 lime. We squeezed the juice out and reserved it. And we cut 2 strips of the lime rind that we needed to use. So we put all of this, except for our lime juice, into our saucepan. I'm going to stir that up, take it right over to the stove, and then we're going to bring it to a boil. And it's going to boil gently covered for about 5 minutes. You want all of the flavors from the lime to kind of go through the syrup. So I'm going to take that over, and I have one here that's ready. And this is what it looks like. Not a lot different, but you can tell that your mint leaves have wilted a little bit. Now this recipe is really good with maybe honeydew melon or cantaloupe. It's fabulous. So we stir in our 2 tablespoons of lime juice, and you can do this before or after you strain your solids out. So we just set that in there. I'm going to give that to you, Jane. Okay. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to put this into a mason jar, and it's going to go into the refrigerator. Perfect. It's about 1 cup. We have to put a tight-fitting lid on it. Now Jane will give you her cinnamon rum, and I'll get ready for my blueberry.
Now this cinnamon rum recipe is really nice. If you happen to have people in your household that don't like rhubarb, put a little cinnamon rum syrup on it. Guaranteed they're going to love it. Now for this recipe you need very few ingredients. You're going to start off with 3/4 of a cup of sugar, half a cup of water, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a tablespoon of dark rum, and a teaspoon of lemon juice that we're going to add in a moment. So I'll start out with my sugar, my water, and my cinnamon. Now I'm going to take this to the stove, and what you want with this recipe, you just want to bring it to a boil to dissolve the sugar. And then when the sugar is dissolved, that's when I add my rum and my lemon juice. So, Jennifer, any chance you could hand me that? You can put this one over.
I'll trade you.
Oh, this is such a nice aroma. I guess it's the cinnamon, but it really is great. Now I'm adding my rum and my lemon juice. I'm going to take Jennifer's spoon. Stir that up. And this also is going to be stored in the refrigerator.
Okay, you ready for me?
Ready for you.
Okay, for our blueberry wine or blueberry syrup, what we need are 2 cups of the fresh or frozen blueberries. We need 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Everything for this recipe goes into your saucepan. So we'll put everything in, and we're going to mix it up. Jane, I could really use a spoon.
Oh, you didn't put that spoon there before?
Nope, I didn't.
Guess you weren't very well prepared.
So we're going to stir this up and take it to the stove. It's going to boil gently just for 10 minutes. And we're going to cover that because we don't want all of our liquids to evaporate.
Allow me to.
Go
Take
right
that to
ahead.
the stove for you.
This is what it comes out looking like. The blueberry colors have all gone into the liquid. We're going to strain that to remove the solids. And you can see it going through our sieve. We have it lined with cheesecloth so that everything will be removed. And this is what we have as a finished product. It looks really good. And with this syrup, you might want to drizzle it over crepes or pancakes. It's a great dessert topping over ice cream or frozen yogurt too. Fabulous.
So now these 4 syrup recipes were very easy. We want you to try them because we're sure you're going to love them.
And we're pretty proud of them ourselves.
Well, it's so easy. So now try those liqueur recipes, try the syrup recipes, and we'll be back in a moment. Jennifer, start cleaning up the rest of that mess. All of these jars were returned to me by my friends after I'd given them great preserves in them. Not a chance. I never see my jars again. But if you're lucky enough to see yours for the second time, here are some storage tips. You might want to remember to store your jars a little bit apart because too close together and that can cause breakage. Another thing is before you reuse your jars, or even before you use them for the first time, just run your finger around the top to make sure there aren't any nicks or cracks in your jars. So that's just a couple of storage tips. Grab your pens, papers, and laptop because the recipe recap is coming up.
A 1/2 cup freshly brewed espresso coffee, or a 1/2 cup of water and 1 tablespoon instant coffee, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of alcohol or vodka, 1/3 cup brandy or rum, and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Place hot coffee in a glass measure and stir in sugar until dissolved. Add your alcohol, brandy, and vanilla. Mix well and pour into a clean bottle. Store 4 weeks before using.
You will need 2 cups of prepared fruit cut into slices or halves for larger fruit, 1 cup of alcohol or vodka, 2 tablespoons of brandy, a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and 3 tablespoons of water. Place fruit in a clean 1-quart bottle, add your alcohol and brandy, and allow to marinate for several weeks in a cool, dark place. Then strain through a fine sieve and discard the solids. Prepare a syrup with sugar and water by bringing them to a boil until the sugar is dissolved. Cool your syrup and add to drained fruit liqueur. Pour into sterilized bottles, cork, label, and store in a cool location for at least 4 weeks.
2 limes, 1 orange and 1 lemon, 1½ cups alcohol or vodka, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. Remove the rind from the limes, orange and lemon. Place in a clean jar with a tight-fitting lid. Then you add your alcohol, cover, and let stand at room temperature for 2 weeks. Remove the peel and add sugar. Stir well, cover, and let stand at room temperature for 1 week or longer. Shake jar occasionally to help sugar to dissolve.
You'll need a half a cup of granulated sugar, half a cup of dry white wine, a quarter cup of water, a quarter cup of fresh rosemary leaves removed from the stem, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, half a teaspoon of peppercorns, 2 strips of lemon rind, and 2 bay leaves. Combine sugar, water, wine, rosemary, vinegar, peppercorns, lemon rind, and bay leaves in a small saucepan. Bring to a boil over high heat, cover, reduce your heat, and boil gently for 5 minutes. Remove from your heat and cool. Strain mixture through a fine sieve and discard the solids. Pour cool, clear syrup into a clean jar with a tight-fitting lid and store in a refrigerator until ready to use.
You'll need 1 lime, a half a cup each of granulated sugar and white wine, 1/4 cup of chopped fresh mint leaves, or 1 tablespoon of dried mint. Remove 2 strips of rind from the lime. Squeeze your lime and reserve 2 tablespoons of the juice. Combine everything but the lime juice in a saucepan. Bring to a boil over high heat, cover, reduce the heat, and boil gently for 5 minutes. Remove from heat and cool. Strain your mixture through a fine sieve and discard the solids. Now you add your lime juice to the cooled syrup and pour in a clean jar with a tight-fitting lid. Store in the refrigerator.
You'll need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, a half a cup of water, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of dark rum, and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. Combine sugar, water, and cinnamon in a small saucepan. Bring to a boil over high heat and cook until your sugar is dissolved. Remove from the heat, stir in rum and lemon juice. Cool and pour in a clean jar with a tight-fitting lid and store in the refrigerator.
You'll need 2 cups of fresh or frozen blueberries, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1/3 of a cup of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Combine your blueberries, sugar, water, lemon juice, and cinnamon in a medium saucepan. Bring to a boil over high heat, reduce your heat, cover, and boil gently for 10 minutes or until the fruit is tender. Strain through a lined sieve and discard your solids. Cool, pour into a clean jar with tight-fitting lid and store in the refrigerator. Thanks for joining Jane and I today on Put a Lid on It. We had a really good time showing you how to make the liqueurs and syrups, and we know you're going to like making them too.
All great gift ideas also. So the next time you're invited to someone's home for dinner, instead of taking that traditional bottle of wine, take one of your homemade liqueurs or syrup recipes.
Now on our next show, we've got Holiday Creations. This is a show you're not going to want to miss. We have some really good recipes: an apple cranberry mincemeat, a cranberry sauce with spirit,
and 4 great flavored vinegars. All great recipes, as Jennifer said. So thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time on
Put a Lid on It.